All right, welcome to Stampscaping 101. Let's try this half-page piece using the Art Foamies birch trees here on a quarter page. All right, this one's just on the cheap primary pack of Recollections foils. That's a brand of foils, but you can use whatever you want for this technique right here. I happen to think that going for kind of really simple types of usages of your stamps and techniques can be enhanced just by starting off with a little bit more of an exciting type of surface like this in the reflective types of foils, or you can use like an iridescent, like a star dream paper or something like that. But short of that, you can also just use a dark piece of cardstock, whatever you want here. All right, so that being said, when I did this piece, I thought those birch trees look pretty good, just stamped out in white, I think. So I thought I would try that for an even faster style of application technique right here. All right, so let's give this a shot. All right, now on this quarter page piece of paper, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp these two trees on the right side of the card. And I'll stamp the left one on the other side just to create a little bit more space in between these trees, and that's something that you can do with this stamp. Okay, so I'm stamping this in the Brilliance White. The Brilliance White will stamp on here on this non-porous foil, and it will dry just fine, but we'll need to spray seal it to adhere it to this type of surface. Now this is the Recollections foil, and I suspect it's a little bit more porous than the other types, so it kind of grabs the foil a little bit easier on that type of surface than something super glossy and mirrored like this type of reflective foil. So, but that being said, you know, it'd still be something that you want to spray seal it with, and I'm going to spray seal it with a Krylon workable fixative. Okay, and I'm holding this down for an extra long amount of time as far as impressions go because I want this ink to really transfer onto there. So if you kind of stamp it down quickly and then lift it up, that wet ink that isn't getting absorbed into the surface at all, sometimes it'll come off like almost like a vacuum or something like that. All right, so there's my trees stamped down like that. Now, this foil here, the blue is printed directly onto this surface like that, so I can see that blue kind of coming through the ink. I'd prefer it to be a little bit whiter, but you know, I mean, this is what we have to work with here, so I'm going to go with that. Maybe we can stamp out, when I spray seal this off, the surface is going to be sealed down. So that blue ink is going to be sealed down, I should say. So if it's sealed down, then maybe I can go for some foreground images on here, print them out in white over the top of this, and they'll look even whiter, which might give this piece a little bit more depth. So the weakness of this surface like this, with that ink kind of showing through, you turn around and you make it into a strength, or you just kind of, you just deal with the situation that you have and try to make the best of it. So not as white of an impression. It can look farther back in the distance, with something whiter closer to us, okay? So this is the Stampscapes lab. I haven't done this before, so this is, trying something out for the first time. So you run into a lot of things, kind of unexpected sides. Oh yeah, I forgot this ink can show through a little bit, so some of that blue ink is actually transferring onto my stamp right here, I noticed. So I don't know if you can tell that it has a little bit of a bluish tinge to it, okay? All right, now this one's stamped out a little bit whiter for some reason. I don't know why. I think it's because maybe it was the same. But see, as this dries, as it starts setting up, more of that blue shows through. So this is, yeah, it's not going to be that white there after it dries. Okay, so let's see. I want to add this moon into the mix, but I think let's spray it off first so that moon would stand out a little bit lighter. Potentially because, you know, the blue will be sealed down as well as the imagery. I do like the look of that, though. I think that looks pretty good, just, you know, just as is, like that. I'm talking about just white. I'm going to be adding in some little extra effects on this, but yeah. Okay, so spray sealing, and I'll let this dry and set up for a couple minutes more, and then I'll spray seal it, okay? So it'll just give the Brilliance ink a little bit of time to dry. The drying time, people ask me about that, and it just varies from where you're at. If you're in a more warmer, more arid type of environment, then it dries a little bit faster. But I think, I don't know, like 3 or 4 minutes, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes is enough time for me here in Southern California. And I don't know, 70-ish degrees outside or something like that. Okay. All right, a little bit more translucent. These almost look glow in the dark now or something like that. When you spray seal this, it can make your white inks a little bit more, or a lot more, see-through, okay? And also, I don't know, maybe some of the blue continued to permeate the white ink on there. Like I said, I did an experiment before on another recent video. That was kind of awkward, but anyways, what I was doing was I was spray sealing the surface on the foil to seal it off before printing my imagery on there, just to see if it would lock down the colors a little bit more and you would have less of this bleed through type of scenario happening. But anyway, you can check that out. But let's go on and add my moon, and let's add in some special effects in this. Okay, let's see. Should I do this first? I'm going to add in some highlights onto those trees as well, but let's go ahead and go with the moon first. I just want to add in the moon and add in some special effects in here and affect my, you know, the moon that I just created, because it's going to be a little bit wet on there. Okay, so I'm getting my 100% cotton ball, all right, and I go like this on my lid to give it a nice flat surface to work with. I've already used this cotton ball once. Sometimes the second or third time's a little bit better because you have more of that paint or ink that's permeated into the surface of the cotton ball, and it's less kind of frilly, linty. Okay, now I'm going I'm going from the top down. I mean, you can go from the side or whatever, but I do like to give it this varied transitioning style of application. You can just go for one solid ball of white too. I've done that before, but I don't know. This is like one of those little refinements that I've been doing. Just because I think it looks better to have that little bit of variation in there. It just kind of makes it a little bit more interesting, in my opinion, to have value variation like that, going from kind of light to dark like that. All right, so there we go, like that. A real glow in the dark, though, isn't it? Okay, now, those trees, I don't know, they're looking okay to me, but let's add in some of this white lighting on some of these trees. Okay, so what we do is, the reason why I'm going to the Art Foamies one here is it's just a little bit bigger of a trunk. So it gives me more space to work with than something a little bit more narrow. So let's see, I don't know if you can see that real well, but let's see what we can do. Okay, I'm not trying to illuminate this entire side of the birch. Actually, I think this is going to work out pretty good just from a couple of little dabs. I'm not going to illuminate this whole side. I'm going to hit it in kind of a varied application, or slightly varied application. Okay, so hitting some up here, and then I have none right there, then I'm hitting some again right down here, like this. Okay, this is another reason why I spray sealed the birch trees so that I would lock down those birch tree textures on there. So see that like that? Boy, that looks like it's really glowing in the dark to me. Even more now. Okay, so let's go for this again, and I'll show you again that varied style. So just don't do the whole thing. And I think it looks a little bit, oh, again, you know, it's varied. So you get more of this kind of idea of transitioning lighting, just like on the moon, okay? So you hit it a little bit more like this, and see it's a little bit lighter like that. And you go like that. And also, so you're retaining a little bit more of that birch tree kind of texturing that's inherently on the design itself like that. So now see this right here, it's drying. I don't think that blue is permeating the ink now that it's locked down a little bit more, but as this white ink dries, it gets a little bit more see-through, as I mentioned. It's not just on the foil, but it's anytime you use it like this. Okay, so this right here, it's light, light, light. So on this one right here, I'm going to go light and light like this, so it's going to be the opposite of that a little bit. Not exactly, but, you know, I'll hit kind of my main kind of illumination. See, I'm going to come up here, you know, slightly too. But I'll kind of go a little bit opposite of this one right over here. And again, it's just to kind of create a little bit of variation. Okay, so I put the lighting on the left side of these two trunks, and I put it on the right side of this one because the trees are on the opposite side of our source of light. That looks pretty interesting to me. Huh. It certainly is a lot less work than trying to line up and restamp your image in black. But again, you know, the last piece was an experiment, and I was just kind of testing it out. I'm going to add in some snow down here for the trees to be kind of situated in. I'll add a little bit more snowy kind of light illumination right in this area, right underneath that moon like that. So it's a little bit lighter right here. I mean, I can hit that more too. Well, let's go ahead and let's hit it more. Let's go for a pretty big slathering of this white right underneath here. Just like that. Now this one right here, I added in these little stars, which is, you know, kind of make for a good texture. But let's add in our little tiny rock small. I'm going to do this. I'm going to try to go for a reverse impression down here in my white ink. So I'm going with the clean stamping. I don't know if that's removing it or not. Yeah, a little bit. See, I've removed some of that ink in that area with a clean stamp. Now I'm inking this up with the white. See this darker area right here? And I'm going for a white impression in that area. Here, let's go for white on white there. But look at this extra texturing like that. I think it looks pretty good. So you have the reverse, and then you have the positive, positive, negative. So you're kind of playing those off of each other. Okay, now here's this little branch right here. Or let's use the winter brush here. That's what I use down here in the foreground. Let's see if we can get a little bit of a whiter impression, and for it to stay nice and light, you know, giving it a little element of depth down here. You got to watch out now, okay? You don't touch any of these areas that are still wet. Because remember, now that we're adding this these impressions and applications over our sealed area, we'll have to seal it again. Okay, so we'll seal down these white applications of the ink and the white impressions. But I think that looks really, really fun. Hopefully the foreground is going to stay a little bit whiter, but we'll see. I think it is. I can just tell these areas of light haven't kind of gotten really dark with the blue coming through. It's whiter. I can see it right in front of me with the spray sealant utilized in here. Okay, let's go with this elk. Okay, so we're kind of anchoring little focal point right there. The elk is kind of a little bit darker up top and lighter on the bottom like that. Let's add a little bit. That elk looks really white right now. I think it'll dry and get a little darker, but let's add a little bit more white down below like this. Okay. Now I don't have a shadow for that elk right there, but I just want some of that moonlight to be shining down there. All right, so that is that. Let's let this dry and set up a little bit. I'm looking at this. Let's see right here. Let's add a little bit of, additional highlights with the white paint pen. Let's shake this up. I was debating whether or not to do this, but I think it'll help a little bit. So I'm putting a little of these highlights on the side of the tree facing the moon. Like that. Keeping them pretty delicate because we're working on this kind of dark piece of paper, and the white pigment ink is a little bit kind of more see-through, so we don't have anything like really white on here. So even the moon itself, with a pretty thick application of that white pigment ink, it's not 100% white like this acrylic paint pen. So let's put a little bit of a ice on the foreground branches. I think that looks pretty good. Kind of brings them forward a little bit more. And let's put some right on that slope, and I'll put a little bit of sparkle down here into this snowy bank. Like so. Kind of, like I said, it almost gives me the feeling of it being like glow in the dark or something like that. This area is looking pretty light. Let's see if I can add on a little bit more. This is where you do like little tweaks, if you deem necessary. Okay, so that snow right down there is pretty light and white. So I just want to make my light source, the thing that's supposedly casting that light down there, closer to, if not lighter than, the reflected light, right? There we go. That makes more sense. It's when, the light source is as light, like I said, or lighter than the reflected light like that. Although snow really reflects a lot of light. But, there we have it. I think that is really fun. And it makes for, I don't know, a pretty quick card. So let me get this formatted and we'll take a look at what it looks like. Carded up, formatted up, I'll spray mount it to something. All right, here we have it. I formatted it onto this piece of white around there. And I probably could have come up with some kind of better framing around it than this super dark blue, almost black. Could be black, glossy cardstock. It made the interior seem a little bit lighter, but I don't know. I thought a foil could look really good on, or something like that too. But I don't know. This black framing works pretty good too, I think. All right, so I'm looking at this, and I think it does need a little bit of extra bling of sorts. So let's do it with a few extra stars. And we can say that we wouldn't see stars on this type of full moon, but it doesn't matter, because if it makes the card look better, then just do it, you know? Okay, you know what I mean? This is artwork, so. All right, I'm just going to keep these ones, I think, pretty small for the most part. I just dip into my my little crystals like this and just take a bunch out like that. And hopefully a bunch of them land upright for my jewel picker. You gotta work fairly fast. This glue, you know, in these little tiny drops dries pretty fast, so sometimes it's kind of, you lose track of where those little dots are, especially if I've splatter painted in a bunch of stars already or something like that. All right, so we have all of them in the smallest size here. And then let's go for one slightly larger one. Comes in a variety of sizes. Okay, so I don't know, I just think that looks kind of nice. It makes it look a little bit more fun. You got something that's actually three-dimensional, it's a little bit more twinkly, so you have the lighting itself, you know, reflecting off all that foil like that. And you get a little bit of change in, kind of the presence of, I don't know what, you know, I mean, it's supposed to be nighttime, but you still get this change with this, kind of this reflected light, so you have this lighter blue and the darker blue like this with the foil, but nice and reflective. And then you get the little twinkly kind of element coming through with the crystals like that. Could, you know, you can also just do like little dots in there for stars or something of that sort, and that looks pretty good too. So anyway, (2023) coming to a close. Hard to believe. All right, so there's the card. Hope you liked it. Hope you like the entire kind of look and technique. Just in recap, we stamp our imagery first, and you got to spray seal it. Otherwise, if you start kind of adding in this kind of white ink on top of these like birch trees, then all of that texture is just going to blend in with this additive type of lighting that we added in here with the cotton ball. Okay, so you'd lose some of the details, so you can see that detail still shows through this extra lighting that we did on those trunks. You see it like that? So you've got to lock it down. And then after you do that, you just lock it down again with another spray sealant. So this stays pretty light. You can make an argument for just saying spray seal it first, and then stamp your trees, let it dry a little bit, spray seal it, and then go, so you'd be doing 3 coats of spray sealant or spray fixative on here. Okay, it's just light coats too. You don't have to slather it on there or anything like that. You can still see this paper still looks, relatively the same as when I first started. I don't know if I have another piece right here, which I don't compare it to, but the spray fixative, I was using more of the thicker style glossy coats, but I think the spray fixative might be kind of a better way to go because it keeps the kind of character of the surface. It retains the character of the surface a little bit easier or better than like a glossy coat. So I love the glossy coats though for other types of applications though. But, a couple different cans. These cans don't cost too much, and, you can get a lot of cards done with 1 can. But maybe 3 sealant coats or something like that on these cheap foils like that, can make things go a little bit smoother. Although I do like the kind of the darker kind of characteristic of those impressions of the birch trees with that blue kind of soaking through a little bit. It kind of looks pretty cool, but I don't see like the textures of the birch trees quite as much because of that bleeding, that blue bleed that permeates the ink after you stamp it out like that. So, but I don't know, you can use it to your advantage too sometime. Like in this one right here where, you have the moon and this, these 2 kind of characters in our scenario here kind of stand out a little bit more because they're just a little bit lighter. But I don't know. Okay, so anyways, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for watching the channel. And if you like these videos, please hit the like button and consider subscribing. We'll give you a lot more content.